From the Persian immortals of the ancient world to the Navajo code talkers of World War II, every war has seen its fair share of heroes and men of renown. But in the modern day, the nature of warfare has changed. What was once hand-to-hand combat with spears and bladed weapons has become asymmetrical in nature with guerrilla tactics and electronics. Today's heroes are the men and women who gather intelligence, chart paths through minefields, and give their lives to hold the line in the face of overwhelming odds. But few are more important than the medic. In this video, you're going to learn all about Arma Reforger's medical system, the supplies and what they do, as well as tips on how to be an effective medic so you can help your team survive the battlefield and stay in the fight.
I got you.
Heads up, rushing up here.
Ambush going on down by the harbor left side.
Before we set foot onto the battlefield, we need to get to know our equipment and how to use it so that we can handle ourselves under pressure. With the recent medical update, the medic has access to 4 types of supplies, which are the bandage, tourniquet, morphine, and saline bag. Starting with the bandage. This is what you're going to use to stop bleeding entirely and begin the healing process. However, bandaging is very slow and can be a hindrance if time is of the essence. Every soldier should have 2 bandages equipped by default. As a medic, you are encouraged to use the victim's bandages first by getting them from their inventory, if they haven't been used already. The tourniquet is a temporary tool used to significantly slow bleeding. They're reusable as well as removable, and their primary benefit is that they're very fast to use, so you can buy time for bandaging, securing the area, or getting to safety. Unfortunately, tourniquets cannot be used on the head, chest, or stomach, so injuries in these areas should be triaged accordingly. Tourniquets also reduce mobility and affect accuracy, so they should be removed as soon as bandages are applied. Morphine is a pain reliever used to calm the nerves. While the victim's injuries are improving, they may experience reduced accuracy and movement speed, which morphine will temporarily alleviate. Morphine can also be used on unconscious victims to wake them up faster. And finally, saline bags are used to speed up the recovery process by providing patients with essential electrolytes, particularly for people that have experienced heavy blood loss. When blood loss is significant, their screen will be desaturated. People who are unconscious with severe blood loss may also not regain consciousness until a saline bag is used, despite having stopped their bleeding or administering morphine. Every good medic will have these supplies on hand, but how much of each should you have? Let's take a moment and talk about what your loadout should be. Your first priority as a medic is to tend to the wounded and save lives, so equipping a weapon is optional. Although you do have the right to defend yourself, just know that if you carry a weapon, you're considered a legitimate target from enemy fire. But the battlefield is a messy place, and your enemy may not care for the laws of war. So if you want to stay alive, we recommend arming yourself with just a basic loadout so you can remain light and agile. With that said, the first items you should equip is armor and the medical backpack, where you'll be storing all of your supplies. Fill your backpack with bandages, tourniquets, morphine, saline bags, and enough smokes to give the enemy team popcorn lung and tank their FPS by an order of magnitude. I like to carry at least 5 bandages, 5 tourniquets, 10 morphine, more if for personal use, 3 saline bags, and 8 smoke grenades. Your ambulance should carry the rest of these supplies in a much larger number so you can restock if needed. In order to get these supplies and save your loadout, you'll find them in the medical tent. However, the medical tent requires someone with the rank of sergeant to build. Alternatively, when you spawn in an ambulance, it will have all of the medical supplies in smaller quantities. Being equipped for the task at hand is only half of the battle. The other half is performing under pressure. So before you step onto the battlefield, let's first get acquainted with the UI and process of administering first aid. When you see a friendly go down, realize that there's a reason why they got shot, and the first thing you should do is make sure the area is secure unless you'd like to join them. If enemies are around, concealment is your friend. This is what your smokes are for. Use them liberally to smoke out both your patient as well as between them and enemy positions so they aren't able to get a clear shot of you. Although you can technically treat your comrades if you know where they're injured, you should first check their injuries, which will give you real-time status as you treat them. Severe injuries and heavy bleeding indicate that your patient needs urgent care and may bleed out within seconds. The pressure is on. Next, slow the bleeding with the tourniquet if possible first. If multiple limbs are wounded, apply a tourniquet to them all. It does not matter which limb you apply a tourniquet to first, as you will not be able to tell which wound is more severe. Next, bandage critical areas that a tourniquet cannot be used on. This may save their life should you be taken out before you complete your treatment. Then, bandage all remaining wounds. If your patient is still unconscious at this point, search through their inventory and recover your tourniquets and replace any bandages you've used. Then, inject them with morphine. Remember, bandages are typically located in their trousers by default. In the case of moderate to severe blood loss, administer a saline bag as your final treatment. You don't want to waste these on patients that bleed out before you can save them. All of this needs to be done within 60 seconds or less. To increase your effectiveness, it's a good idea to equip your morphine, tourniquet, and saline bags to your hotbar in the inventory screen for quick access. You don't want to have to figure this out while bullets are flying by your face. If you become injured yourself, here's what you need to know about what all the symbols mean. The broken bone icon does not mean that you have a broken bone. It just means that you have impaired movement. The red blood drop icon indicates your current blood levels. More is better, and you'll want to use a saline bag on yourself once this level drops to 50% or below. The barbed wire icon indicates an injury, coded by color. Blue for light and moderate injuries, red for serious injuries. Your movement speed and accuracy will be affected depending on which body part is injured and the severity. If the barbed wire icon has a blood drop, it means that your injury is currently bleeding and you need to apply either a tourniquet to slow the bleeding or a bandage to stop the bleeding. You can do so simply by selecting the icon in the inventory screen, hovering your cursor over the item you wish to use, and pressing the use key. Alternatively, you can directly equip the item you wish to use outside of the inventory screen and simply press the use key, and your character will use it on the most severe injury first. Now, you're ready for the field. Good luck, you'll need it. So, here are some tips for being an effective medic. There are generally 2 ways you can play the medic role. The first way, as a medic for your entire team, roaming around to where you're needed, and the second way, as your squad's medic. I recommend every squad has their own dedicated medic that sticks with them so each team can have a medic's focused attention. Stick with your squad and hang back, checking the flanks and rear. Don't worry about getting into the action until it's time for you to get into action. When prioritizing patients, you should first heal radio men so that your team always has a spawn point, at least until the rumored rework is implemented. After that, prioritize team leaders, machine gunners, grenadiers, and those with serious injuries that provide the best chance of success of treatment or you staying alive. Don't forget to save your loadout with all of your gear after you equip things for the first time. That way you'll always have a consistent loadout whenever you respawn away from your base. You can do this by going up to a crate at the armory and using the action menu. As mentioned earlier, smoke grenades are your friend, so bring a lot of them and use them liberally. Throw one smoke grenade on the victim and another one as close as you can towards enemy positions. This will significantly reduce their cone of sight and help you do your job. Your ambulance is often a target for enemy fire. Try to keep it parked away from intense fighting. If you have no other choice, use your ambulance as a shield so that you can tend to the wounded with some cover by parking it in between the victim and enemy fire. And finally, the medic profession is by far the most difficult role I've played in Arma Reforger so far. It's intense, and it requires a lot of dedicated practice to become proficient. So if you want to see the medical profession in action, watch this video next. This is Ironbeard, and I'll see you on the battlefield.